Get to the
Well, that's
group.
an interesting.
I sent them to everybody. I don't know, it wasn't until this afternoon, so I don't know if everyone got them though.
Oh,
I don't think there's,
2005 and,
When you're alive, Kurt,
okay.
keeps you awake.
I haven't, one of those evil sets of paper copies, so.
did you send these out?
She did, Monday.
Are we ready, Stephen? Good evening, everybody. Let's call this meeting to order at 7:01 on 4/12 of 2023. Welcome aboard, everybody. First thing on the agenda is roll call. Joe Amon,
I am here.
David Budrus,
Present.
Stephen Hardy,
Present.
Chris Moritz,
Here.
and Levi Shank.
Here.
Everybody's present. To take this moment to recognize any visitors in the audience, if you'd like to be. Mike in Virginia. And it's Larry, is that correct?
It is Larry.
Larry, I don't
Larry
remember your
Spencer.
last name.
Spencer.
Spencer? Okay. Any additions to the agenda? Other than the one I've already got on there.
Reference to some things going on at the north end of town regarding a shipping container and the fire.
And the what?
The fire.
Oh, a shipping container you see there now?
Mhm.
Same area?
Mhm.
I've been by there today, so it must have been. Is it on the lot with the trailer or across the street?
Across the street, I believe. I haven't seen it yet myself. I was just informed of it by a citizen. I'm just bringing it. What I was told, and bringing that to the council's attention.
Okay. Sounds like a winner. Does this look like something that somebody's, well, you have no idea.
I haven't got
Whether
there
it's-
yet. I meant to get there today, and the afternoon ran out on me.
Yeah, okay. Well, alrighty. So that's it. Fidley's lot.
Mm. Mhm.
Okay, along, how did they find room? You haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it yet. I'll try and get there tomorrow morning.
Okay. And other things to do with the north end of town?
No, it was just those two, shipping container and then just a brief discussion regarding the fire.
Ah, okay. Okay, first thing on the agenda is to approve the minutes from 2022, excuse me, from 2023.
Move to
How about
approve.
3/22? January, February, March, 3/22/2023.
Move to approve as presented.
Second.
So we got a motion on the floor and a second to approve the minutes as written. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor of the motion on the floor signify by saying aye.
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 Did I get you there too, Chris? Or?
Yes, yeah,
Very good. 5-0, thank you. Next one is to approve the claims. we got a motion on the floor to approve,
Second.
seconded by Stephen. Discussion?
Just for clarification, are we approving the last amendment that came in the form of an Excel spreadsheet?
Oh,
Because it was missing some
Right.
additional RICO bill.
right. Yes.
I didn't catch that, Joe. An Excel spreadsheet? for
Yeah,
the-
so Donna presented with the packet of information on Monday, but then there was an additional invoice that came in from RICO that she added and sent out a second one yesterday, I believe, from, in the form of an Excel spreadsheet instead of a PDF.
Don't have that one.
And-
Email yesterday at 9:06 a.m.
No, don't even have it.
Well, knowing that the tablets don't necessarily translate it well, you want to look at it on
Oh,
the,
okay, yes, I do. If it's,
okay.
mine doesn't break it down, it just says yesterday, no times.
Yeah.
Got that. Okay, that's what you're referring to, Joe?
Yeah, this came in an Excel spreadsheet, so, and my understanding is the only change from the PDF one that we got with our big packet was one bill from, an additional bill from RICO.
Oh, from Rico, okay. And that was this month's bill, was it not? Yeah.
One thing I'm catching on here is that you've not gotten the Visa statement yet, as of, you did get it though, okay.
Came this afternoon? Yeah, okay.
Are we gonna be able to have enough time to get that approved and paid without penalty at this point?
I think so.
Okay.
Is it on this list now? No?
It came in too
So-
late.
Yeah. As it does every month. So
We just don't wanna
that's
miss
gonna
it.
have to wait for another,
There's time.
okay? So that's a hand carry job then, okay?
The other good thing to note, I don't know that this will be our final bill, but we no longer have any services with CenturyLink as a city. As of Monday, right? Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. So did I get that we are approving the second bill for Rico?
The whole package of claims is sent out yesterday.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay,
Which includes that additional RICO invoice.
okay.
So the RICO line on the spreadsheet from yesterday reads 159.55.
Yep,
I forgot this big one.
Further discussion?
I've got no more further questions.
no? Okay, we got a motion and a second, is that true? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, the same? Very good. Item number 3. We've got some, to observe the payroll. There are several things on here. Everybody got that one? Okay.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Just to clarify, these are already paid, correct? These have already been paid.
Yes. The checks are made, they have not, yes, that's true. This is last week's payday. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same? Okay. Fiber optic. This is more of an update. Could have been later, but if you have been following any of this, there was talk of having a building built down at our wastewater treatment plant. That's not going to happen. That is going to be put on IGG or whoever's buying that. They bought 2 lots, pieces of property over here from the people that we got our building from. And they are gonna build that building over there, which is right on Rockland Road. We are going to have our stacks of electronic equipment put in the corner of our lab. There'll be 1, possibly 2 pieces of 3-inch conduit run from the pole over to the lab right next to the one that's there now. Back to the original plan was that it was gonna go in the corner of our building, and it will be only our electronics, nobody else's.
Now, our as in the city of Harrington, or our as
Ours
in...
as of the city, well, it'll belong to the county,
county.
but it'll be servicing us only.
Okay,
There was, well, I know I was confused with what was going on with IGG, that they were part of the big picture, and IGG is not part of the county program.
they're their
You
own
know,
machine.
they are 100% on their own, and they have one goal, and that's to put fiber from one part of this country to the other. And they were just coming through our area was all. That wasn't made 100% clear, really. That's where we came up with all of a sudden needing a small building, and then turned into a 10,000 square foot area, which we didn't have room for. So.
Yeah.
So now this stuff will all be coming in overhead, go into the corner of our building, right back out, and all over, well, it may not be all overhead. There may be some underground lines put under Third here to get it in certain areas. I can't tell you exactly where that may be, but we'll know as time goes on. I spent a little bit of time with one of our commissioners, and we got that ironed out. And he said there won't be any lapse of communication again. So, that's the part about the fiber optic. Fourth thing on the agenda, replace the resolution, and Joe wrote that up. Joe, do you remember, did we send that out to everybody? I believe we did,
Yeah.
but electronically only.
Yeah, it was basically, I didn't really rewrite it, you guys did, I just cleaned up the numbering, that's on it.
Yeah, has everybody had a chance to look at that?
I haven't received any paperwork, any messages, nothing for 2 weeks.
Well, this would have come to you probably, I'm gonna guess, a week ago.
Oops.
No.
Don't break it.
I don't know how this works.
Do you know the date you sent that one, Joe?
I'm gonna look it up.
Back on the 10th or something like that? I guess I could go to search and find it. Maybe. Search. I need one of my grandkids here.
Yeah.
Isn't
So-
that the truth?
There are all your new emails
Where were they?
in the
Because of
mail
the-
app,
April 2nd is where I sent it.
and there's the resolution.
There you go. You can look at it in paper.
Oh, that would be better. Thanks, Stephen.
You were in the mail app, but you had an attachment full screen.
Oh, okay.
When you exited that attachment, everything else was there.
So this is now gonna be, which number again? 243?
243, correct.
Because the last time we did this was 242.
Just couldn't remember if we'd done one between then and there.
No, we didn't.
Move to approve 243.
Adopt.
Move to adopt 243, 2023.
That was Joe.
Yes.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Seconded by Levi. So we got a motion on the floor to accept 243-2023 as the new description ordinance there on how the library will elect officers or replace officers. Hope that's a good definition. Discussion.
I take it this didn't go by Bingaman for a last review?
I have not, but it can, of course. So does this say how they're going to elect? I guess I can make that bigger.
In section 4.
Yeah.
Section 4, the first position appointed, yeah?
This primary sentence that got changed was the library board shall forward to the mayor a list of recommendations or to fill any vacancy occurring by reason of end of term, resignation, retirement, or death, and that recommendations may be appointed by the mayor with the consent of the city council.
So that was the question that was always hanging out there. Sorry, I can't see the whole screen because when I blow it up to where I can actually read it, then I'm only looking at part of a sentence.
Do you see that, Chris? Isn't it?
I've got,
Yeah. I guess from prior discussion, none of this in here takes away any powers from the mayor or the council, correct?
Correct.
And on Bingaman, the attorney's advice, there's still RCWs quoted in here. I personally don't really have a problem with that, but I don't see any conflicts
No.
with it. So, actually, this mirrors the prior, the original one back in '96 or whenever that was, to a degree.
Right.
With the exception of the positions are spelled out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and their dates.
ahead and kick me.
Okay, give me your other five.
So it looks like the only real question, it sounds like at this point, is whether we want to spend $200 to have somebody look at it or not.
Mr. Mayor, it doesn't, I think we achieved most of what we were trying to achieve
Yeah.
with this. Only other question, concern is, well, it would only pertain to hiring a new librarian or whatever, and that's, I don't look like that's gonna be a everyday event, so I'll hold my thoughts on that. I think this will suffice for now.
Worst case scenario, we'd have to visit it again, right? Save our money?
Yeah.
I'll leave that up to you guys.
I think the hiring, I mean, I don't know what part of it, I know the hiring of the librarian by statute is pretty much given to the board.
Well, my only concern with that was who does the background checks, who's responsible for that. There would seem to be some kind of confusion with who does that, who does the clerical end of that, the business end of that.
Does,
So, does that need to really be spelled out here?
I
Yes
don't
and no.
think so, and I think that's, I would hope they have written that into their bylaws at this point, since I know that they've been working hard on those.
But I think you'll have more turnover in members and positions from
Absolutely.
attrition and other stuff than librarians, hopefully, knock on wood.
Knock on wood.
Anybody want to look at a paper copy? You do?
I've
You've
got
got
it.
one? Okay.
Yeah, David gave me one.
Sorry to be rude about that, but some people like paper. I know there's at least a few old people like myself that kind of like paper.
We agreed on that earlier this week.
The only problem is,
People
the more, even if you do this to paper, it doesn't get bigger.
It doesn't get what?
It doesn't get bigger, it doesn't
We need to
zoom in.
get this man a bigger tablet.
No,
No,
he's going in for his
we just need to advance the clock till the 27th.
Yeah.
And then
hope that
hope that
works.
everything that is promised is fulfilled.
If I may, I'll call the question.
Okay? Do we got a second on that?
Second.
Second. So it's been moved, or it's been motioned and a second that we accept this as written. Any further discussion? Nope.
I'm good.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
I
Aye.
Opposed, the same?
Nay.
Okay. Very good. Mobile home expansion. Before we get there, I would like to ask the question of the council by a show of hands. How many of you have actually been to the site?
Walked on it or driven by? I have not walked on it, but I know.
Been close and seen any of the lines that are 50 feet off the center line of the road?
I didn't have my tape measure, but
yeah, I didn't do that.
I got a good idea. I don't
Okay,
have an
there's
exact.
a
for you.
red line out there. I'm not sure who put it there, and what I would call a chalk line, and it may not be, but
It's
look,
paint.
that's
put it
painted
there.
line.
It's
The orange
fluorescent
one.
paint,
Yeah.
like construction sites use.
Okay.
I just saw the
So-
string.
According to our map,
And there's a string.
the map we have right here under the broken glass on our counter, that's a 100-foot road. So if you measure 50 feet off the road, that is the
Right away.
right-of-way line, the edge of
From
the
the
road.
center line, Mr. Mayor? or
Yeah.
From the
edge?
center line,
Yes.
50 feet each direction.
Yes, okay.
If you were to measure 50 feet anywhere on any of those other houses on Third Avenue there, both sides of the street, at 50 feet, the house, you would be in the front door probably of some of those
Sitting
houses.
in the living room.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was my question, basically. I went down and looked at the hole that was dug there, and it's, I don't know how far from the 50-foot line, 8
It's
feet maybe?
Over 10 feet, or right at.
Just
10.
at the edge or where the edge of the trailer would wind up sitting.
No, the trailer is way back from 50 feet. But I'm anticipating like a 10-foot porch or deck on the front.
So that hole's gonna get filled in when,
The trailer will fill the hole.
yeah,
But then there'll be a little, my mother-in-law is handicapped, so she's gonna need a covered awning to the garage so that she can get there in the wintertime without driving through snow with her electric cart and stuff.
which is going to be on the end.
And so with the 8 or 10-foot extension on the front, we're still a foot short of the 50-foot mark.
Okay.
So mobile home, 10-foot awning, still a foot away from the 50-foot right-of-way.
So everybody's been out there to see it. I think that's a very good thing.
Thank you.
It's very hard to talk about things without having been there and physically seen it.
So what I want to make sure I'm getting from what you just said is that even with that awning, that is still
Still a foot short of the 50
short.
right-of-way.
The word short there is to say that it is
Back up.
compliant with. It would there is in excess of 50 feet.
Yes.
51, not 49. Okay, there we go. Yeah.
And this, has there been any formal survey done, or is this just by,
I'm guessing that Standard Oil did a pretty serious survey, and we're drawing that line from the light pole, from the old drive-in, right across the pillars for the canopy on the old Standard Oil, obviously surveyed. And now I thought, our property, I thought was out to the end of that slab, which is beyond the canopy, but when I measured, get that 50 feet, it's probably, their right-of-way is closer to where the canopy poles are. And then you look down the street from there at all the other houses, and you kind of strike a building line. That's where I want to be. I want to be normal. I don't want to be the odd man out. Because the way the language is now, and if we don't act on it, the inspector's not going to have no choice but to go with what it reads. And it says if you're building next to a state highway, which it's actually a city street once it enters but he's going to go by the Highway 28 regulations,
23?
which is 80 feet from the center line. So they're not only taking their right-of-way, they're taking 30 feet of my property too. So I'm trying to do a economical way of using my property for something other than storing air and building on it so that we can all benefit from that.
Now, if there's, likewise, if you're in that, what you're requesting, and it happens here, people room for parking,
There's more room for parking in front of that when I'm done than any place else on Main Street. Way more.
that's what you said.
Because I'm giving them the full 50 feet. Everybody else is at 37, 36. The grocery store is like 37 feet. All the buildings on Main Street, both sides, Third Street, are way closer than the 50-foot right-of-way that our inspector is going to start measuring from.
Right.
So, and I haven't even taken him down there and showed him this and asked him yet, but the language is there. Now, if you went out here and built a mobile home on the side of Highway 28, you would have to give them that 50 feet plus 30 feet before you could set a mobile home.
Wasn't it 27 actually? But
Hmm?
it was 27, wasn't it?
No, isn't it, it's 28.
At 28 feet? Yeah.
No.
Out here
highway
between
28.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Harrington and Davenport.
yeah.
So is it true that you're seeking a variance for two things? One would be the setback,
Yes.
and one would be the number of units.
Now we're up to 3, actually. Because the number of units is part of this new plan, but also the type of setting for the mobile home park.
Yeah. The mobile home park's actually 4 total now.
4, well, I would like to have 4 because
There's room.
by utilizing this 30 feet that they
Right.
want for nothing, I can get a 4th home in there, which is another residence, which is deeper pockets for Harrington and me and better for the school and the grocery store and everybody, I would think.
Is it still
So-
a lot 4 and 5?
Yeah, we're still in the same space. I'm just utilizing more of the property
The
that was
frontage,
out front,
yeah.
moving closer to the highway than I had. The stuff back behind is almost a non-issue because it doesn't
This is
involve
third.
the street. And the other mobile home's already there.
Existing?
So it's a done deal, but
Right.
when the inspector comes
The
and
first
he
one to
goes
come
to
in
measure,
now,
he's gonna say, well, this has
2,
gotta be 80 feet from the
3
center
and
line.
Right.
four.
I
So
don't
this
know, I haven't
picture
asked him if
actually
that's what he's
shows-
gonna say yet or not, but what choice does he have?
This shows all 4, is that true, Mike?
That's right.
Okay.
So
Third Avenue down here.
I would suggest that it may behoove you in the conversation here to seek your variances separately instead of as a package deal.
I'm not opposed to that.
It would probably help limit the debate to discuss it subject by subject.
Well, this one's already there.
It'd be nice to leave here with, as much stuff that we need or want as
It's already here,
possible.
so that must be.
So if we list
1,
this
2,
as number
3.
1 variance for the setback,
Variance for the setback.
okay?
So
We'll call that
here's
1.
my 2 cents worth on this.
Can we put it into do you mind if we put it something into discussion first, or are you talking about the way in which we go about it?
No, we should probably put it in discussion.
Yes.
In my time on council, I don't think we've given variances, so I don't know exactly the procedure on that. Levi, you've done a variance, and you're probably the only one among us that has. Is that just proposed as a motion?
To be honest with you, I would have to go back and look. I think it's been 5 years at least since I've done that.
Right.
If you go by what's been done, I believe, to change stuff, you have a public meeting.
A public hearing,
Yeah,
okay?
kind of like your 05.
Yeah.
When that happened, you guys were, well, your dad was alive, and you both of you were involved from the documents and the minutes I've read. And it went, you proposed a variance for mobile home park and 4 and 5. Everything jives so far,
Yep.
with the exception of what you're asking now. And a conditional use permit was granted for what you asked for at that time.
That's right.
For three,
I didn't know that there was 3. I assumed that would be up to me to fill my park with however many I legally could. I didn't know there was a limit of 3 at the time. And
right,
so I started with my mobile home park with 4, and then, we started finding information,
yeah.
and some of that was different than what we had, understood or assumed, if you will.
And one of the other biggies, that's fact, we know that took place, and that's all been, where in the world did I put it? It's under this file. And there was these are the conditions, these are in the minutes of December 14th of 2005. And one is a conditional use permit in the industrial zoned area for Block 5, lots 4 and 5, a mobile home park following all building codes was granted by council. at that time. And they had some concerns, or following conditions expressed by council. One, maintain tidiness and overall appearance in the community. No mobile homes built prior to 1976 would be allowed. Limit of 3 trailers would be allowed on this conditional use permit. And building permits would be required for each home installed. Owner would follow the same rules and regulations as other mobile home parks in the city. And that's that in a nutshell.
So
And
that
I did
was-
ask for a copy of
But that
those.
was an application, not a variance, right?
Well, see the terminology, this is a conditional use permit.
Right, so that wouldn't be a variance, that would be a permit for, so, like, Levi, do you remember when Nathan built his shop or Sanchez's?
Here's the variance right here.
But I
for the
can
mobile
expound on that a little bit,
And
Stephen.
that was the same month, I believe it was earlier. The first thing that was established was the variance before November 5th, and that's that one.
But according to
Excuse
the
me.
municipal code of Harrington, that I believe any application for a mobile home park or expansion of a mobile home park, there's a procedure you have to go through, and public hearing is one of them.
That's in Article 3.
That is Article 3, Development Procedures.
Right.
So that would answer your question.
Well, some of it in that, I think that increasing the number of buildings would would fall under that category. I don't know that, at least to my interpretation of it, that changing the setback requirements from the road would inherently change the nature of the application.
Well, we do have the ordinance, what was it, 379?
376.
And a bunch of them that had, because in their original grant, they had to follow the building codes and stuff, and within the mobile homes and whatever pertains to that, it talks about setbacks and stuff off of the highways.
Well, and it may be moved, but just to confirm, Levi, do you remember was there a public hearing for previous variances?
Yes, as far as I remember, there were. We
Okay.
usually open the meetings with a public hearing when we were discussing them.
Okay, so then regardless of what exactly it is, to follow precedent and then also possibly to follow requirement if this meets the definition of the application, to David's point, it sounds like we wouldn't be in a position to action this here tonight. The soonest we could do this then is to declare a public hearing for next week and advertise that, and then actually have a meeting instead of a workshop next week, is because I don't, to David's point, if it becomes a part of the application, then we are legally bound to not vote on it tonight. If it is just a variance, we would have to know more to know whether we're just breaking convention or if we would be breaking law to vote on it without a public hearing. Either way, it sounds like it's not probably advisable for us to do here tonight, but we would have to set up the next available opportunity to be able to
This is
vote
what I'm
after a
talking
public
about.
hearing has
I
been.
think this is the one that I got.
Public hearing's gotta be advertised in the paper, and I don't know if our Facebook page would satisfy that.
No.
No, it's gotta be,
It has to be a paper of
I
record.
guess to get a ruling, do you want, here's the article, and I could read it real quick, you know. It says Article 3, Development Procedures, Application. Any person desiring to develop a mobile home park or enlarge an existing park shall submit an application to the city clerk containing the following information. And it's area, dimensions, number, location within roadways and walkways, location of solid waste facilities, location, recreation, permit, and other permanent facilities, the plan of the water, sewer, you've already done a lot of the legwork on that, so. All maps and plots, plans shall be drawn to appropriate scale. And that's basically a bunch of redundant stuff we already talked about. But then you skip, there's fees, and then a public hearing. And then a project review and hearing. So I guess we would be the council. We don't have a planning commission anymore. We did briefly in the past, but So,
And doesn't it state something about mailing properties in there?
Within
for that?
400 feet of the project, yes.
yeah, notifying them, but in Harrington, you blow one dog whistle, they'll all be here.
So, I will say this. I'm concerned about who actually has jurisdiction of this road. Yes.
What?
Of Third. It was city, but my understanding is when it became State Highway 23, it became the jurisdiction of the state. And that's, to back that up, and we'll have to get this sorted out, but when we want to close the road for an event, we have to get the state DOT approval to close Third.
That restricts the flow of traffic,
Yeah.
and that's what they're concerned
Yeah.
about.
Well, sure, I know why they're concerned,
You-
but that's,
Yeah.
but
The way I understand it, have the right to plant trees, put up flower pots, do anything you want within that right of way, as long as it doesn't impede the flow of traffic.
I'm just saying,
Right.
I'm not trying to be argumentative, it's just,
Yeah.
it's a question that we need to get answered, because this body makes a decision, and then the state comes to us and says, that was not yours to make.
I have something to add. I realize I'm in mobile homes, but I'm also the executive director of the Idaho Property Owners Association, which is kind of why I offered to help them with this. And I actually do write a little, as a lobbyist, I write some laws sometimes. And what I can tell you, and this is Idaho, but I believe Washington's just pretty much the same on this, is that access to and everything within a right-of-way or a prescriptive easement, which doesn't apply here because this is actually a right-of-way, that is all exclusively the jurisdiction of either the city or the state, whoever controls or owns the road there, or the right-of-way. Outside of that, if this was in the county, at the edge of the property line, and back from the edge of the property line, even 1 inch, is exclusively the purview of the controlling city or county. In other words, the city gets to decide if in an industrial zone, there's a 0-foot setback off of right-of-way, or if there's a 100-foot setback off of a right-of-way. But that, the access is controlled, but once it crosses off of the right-of-way, it's the control of the city. So I'm not sure if that answers or kind of addresses your question, but
It doesn't, it doesn't. Okay. I want to hear from the state that they don't have a stake in it. After that,
Sure.
then it's on us. That's all I'm trying to say.
It's good information to know anyway.
Yeah.
It's not bad for all of us to know, so.
Yeah, we ran into a situation in Davenport because they were wanting to change the parking through the highway there and the frontage of the businesses. And they took away like 14, 16 spaces. And Davenport needed more parking, not less. And so we had to go and have discussion, and they changed it twice, and they kept blaming the DOT, the state, and then, so I just called them. And they said, no, the city has the say,
Okay.
because it's their businesses, their, public
It was about the
entity,
angle
yeah.
of parking.
And so then, so we felt that we won because we were gonna get our parking spaces back. But then 3 months later, they redid it again and said with no discussion, no nothing. And,
They, as in the
We're
city of
done.
Davenport.
yes, it
And this is in
was.
front
But
of
it was
us.
it was an
And this-
experience in the fact that
It didn't affect
who
us.
has the
that hadn't.
jurisdiction?
Okay.
And so that's
was
what
our
I'm saying. is
downtown
we,
property.
I experienced that
Okay,
because,
gotcha.
I made the phone call
Okay.
and found out. And so if that's what you have to do, then you have to do it. But
We-
I think you'll find the same thing.
Like Stephen said, we can't make an action really
Right.
tonight, so I just want to get that answered.
Right. Also
I
for
feel
the sake of
confident about it,
tonight's
so.
conversation, and Larry's got property that we need to get moved. If we save the extension to 4 over the 3 for now, we can get by with 3. We need 2 permits to set 2 mobile homes. And 1 is affected by this highway variance. The other one is only affected by the type of setting and pylons that we use in a mobile home park. So,
I'd like to address that.
yeah, and Larry's here tonight. He's set more mobile homes than anybody I know. And he can help you if you have any questions about this variance for a mobile home, a park, they call it a park set.
Right.
It's not real property. It's a park set. It's not like you're building a home up here by the golf course or down here or somewhere else. In a mobile home park, normally the regulations are different. And Larry can explain everything you need to know about that if you have any questions or need any answers.
I know right now, you're good to go. It was set in stone or on paper back in '05 with the 3 and follow the building code. And I don't know what to be honest with you, I've just read briefly the mobile home park, some of it, but I haven't really dove into it. So what you have existing, what do you foresee changing outside of the distance from the road or, you know, your request to do that? But other than that, back in '05, what you guys had in your mind to put 3, I mean, whatever you had going, the council at that time said, go for it.
Right.
And so, and follow the building code, so whatever the heck that means.
But I'd like to address that because it's not ambiguous, but so there's 2 different types of set, and the only type that is addressed directly in your code is the same exact thing that the cities and some counties use when homes are going onto private property. In other words, you're putting a home onto a lot, not into a park. And they require basically a dig-out foundation, concrete poured down 30 inches below the frost protection, etc. So that is in the building code. It is not the same type of set that is being used in the other mobile home park.
In a park versus the, yes.
Right. And in the existing one in this park, I also reached out to, bear with me, I'll get the name right in a second here. I had my daughter text me to Don Taylor, who is the factory assembled structure compliance specialist supervisor for the state of Washington. And he basically is the mobile home guru as far as this. And he told me he'd be happy to talk to city council and mayor, so I put the mayor in touch, or I got the information to the mayor to talk to him. I don't know if he had a chance to do that. But Don told me that no city that he knows of in the state requires a pit set type foundation, which is what the building code envisions for private properties in a mobile home park. And he was concerned that he didn't want to set a precedent because it adds about $10,000 to the cost and basically makes it a permanent thing. If you want to change it out because you want to bring in a newer one, well, your foundation's now garbage, rip it out and put it in a different one.
Right.
So I don't think that it was really addressed in the code, but what I can say is your precedent of allowing what we call park set, which is what's used in every mobile home park in every city and every county in the state, which is basically just blocks on top of the ground, compacted fill, blocks on top, and then, we've got pictures that...
If that's what the mobile home park rules we have for that, I don't have a problem with that. I mean, in '05, was that even discussed or even a concern? Do you guys remember?
Yeah, I'm not sure that
Thank you, Larry.
the other kind of set was even available or talked about.
I don't know if back then, see, your inspector was a city employee at the
Right.
time.
Correct.
And you're no longer doing that. You've turned it over to the county. And the
Unfortunately.
county's got a thicker book than what 20 years ago the city
Right.
had. And so when your current inspector comes, he's gonna want us to put a slab set down.
It's changed.
The misunderstanding, I think, was that the inspector, when he first issued a letter here a while ago, didn't realize that this is a mobile home park.
Correct.
And so he sent, here's what you've got to do, which applies on private property on a lot, but I don't think that he would have sent the same instructions had he realized it's a mobile home park. He would have gone with the regular mobile home style thing. But what we're hoping council will do is just clarify that so that we don't have to come back yet again and say, well, the building inspector isn't really sure, and so we have to be not the first city ever to try to make them put in these
Right.
pit set foundations for mobile home parks, and now it's good. So that's what we're hoping to get clarified tonight, just so for planning and budgetary reasons, we can get that kind of resolved. And like I said,
understand, yes.
your existing precedent in the mobile home parks, both of them, this one and the other one, there's no pit set. There's no frost, below frost grade type stuff. It's just.
And I don't think honestly, I don't think we have a ruling on that, and we all concur on that, but I'd like to ask the rest of the council, do we agree?
Well, let me read, there is, 376 does,
For a mobile home park?
yes.
My only question to everybody, you guys did the legwork back in 04, 5, and 6, actually, and is that, the way it's written, and these are just notes, or minutes, and it says a conditional use permit in an industrial zoned block. Do we all agree that it's a park now? I mean, where, I was looking for all that, and I mean, the terminology counts here, because, yes, I see it both ways, but if we're gonna call it a mobile home park, then what Larry was just explaining, I don't doubt you at all. There's a different, in our prior meeting, you mentioned too, calling it a park, you're less stringent on the rules, let's just say. You don't have to follow all the requirements, like if you just have a lot and you want to put a home on it, and it's just a chunk of land, you'd have to go to all that, what you call the foundation and all that stuff.
They call that real property,
Yeah,
and mobile home park is different.
but that's real property too. It's just different.
It's just different language.
Yeah, I know, I get you.
But at the time, we didn't realize that they had already gone through a city council meeting when we were here last.
Right.
And now we found out, oh, they did go through that and they did approve it as a mobile home park. So that's
Right.
kind of
And
new
the,
information.
and the home that's sitting there now is on blocks. It doesn't have a paved highway under it. So if that's a precedent, and if the city is okay with that, then we have something to go to the inspector for, which says, well, because you have the jurisdiction to
Well,
say it one way or
I
another.
get, they've already approved it back in '05
Well,
for that.
With the exception of the setback variance.
And then we gotta deal with the setback, but that's the next mobile home. The one that we wanna set now, if we can get this setting settled, this type of setting settled, then Larry can bring his home in here and we can set it. Because we're not gonna exceed the 3
Right.
on that basis.
Right.
And it doesn't involve a setback problem. So we have time, we have a few weeks before the second mobile home comes to town, which is gonna need the understanding on the setback and the setting on the type of,
Yeah, that's the issue,
Oh,
so
I
setback.
So the first one would not be the one up front here.
it's not gonna be, well, it should be, but it won't be if we have to spend time with this. We can put that one off.
Mom's coming to town.
My mother-in-law's coming, guys. We're one way, either way, she's coming.
So, Jeff,
And I don't know if anybody's got a spare bedroom.
I think
Have you got
I
a
would
sleeping
welcome-
bag?
I think from a legal standpoint, on our part, you've already been approved for what the 4 corners of this document say. And I think we don't have a right, or anybody, to change the rule games on you at this point. But going forward, if we see, that could change in the future. But
And
you've
the
already been
issue-
granted this.
The issue, David, is that we've pushed this inspection off to another entity. And they're no doubt gonna have different rules
Right.
than what were available when we set that mobile home. So we'll have to rely on Larry to
have you talked with these folks in depth?
The inspector?
Yeah. whoever
No,
it
I
is.
have not, because I wanted to have real information before I even,
But I mean, did you show him?
he gave me a permit of what I need to do.
It was
Well,
a
no,
sheet.
it was a sheet of
Information
paper,
sheet.
what I need to do in order to set a mobile home in Lincoln County. And I thought he understood that it was a mobile home park. Maybe he didn't. Maybe they have.
Well, I
So-
believe I mentioned it to them.
In regard to the three issues,
Yeah.
you have the setback, but it sounds like you don't need that resolved immediately. You'd
Not
be happy
immediately.
enough to just set the first one for now. So we can set that on the table, at least until we talk about public hearing and whatever. Then you have the question of 3 versus 4, which is also not critical today.
Not-
You could still,
not this
still
week.
happy to do the first one now. So we can set that on the table, public hearing for changing the application, etc. The only thing that matters really is, can you have an inspection that is relevant to the definition of mobile home park? And so hopefully, it sounds like the first swing at that we can take is if we give a call to the county and say, hey, so you know, we found the documentation, this place is a mobile home park.
Yeah.
So then you guys can call him back after we've made our call so that he knows what paper to draw from. And then hopefully you'll get a different set of requirements that you'll already be happy with because they won't be
Do
relevant
you think
to.
that's possible, Larry?
I do. I think so.
It would be, the one thing that I would, again, because of my understanding, and I put a call into the inspector almost 2 weeks ago, I still haven't got a call back, which is kind of surprising. But the more guidance that the council can give, or that whoever contacts them can give, saying, look, we've got, before you answer this, call the Factory Assembled Structure Division of Labor and Industry, talk to the guy there, because we don't want to be
And
doing
Jess has the
something,
phone number.
we don't want to be doing something that other cities aren't making people do. But this is our understanding, is the park sets are not the same as pit sets that you kind of outlined in this, so where are you at on it? The more latitude that he has as far as his instruction, especially when he's told, please check with Factory Assembled Structures of Labor and Industries, they're gonna say, hey, no, we don't wanna do that, this is what they do in parks. They were very concerned about accidentally getting a precedent set that
Okay.
would require that,
So we give them a call and we say two things. One, we've established that it's a mobile home park based upon what was defined in 2005. Two, please talk to this gentleman if you need more, if you have more questions about how this should go in regards to the setting of the place, right? Then hopefully that should allow the inspector to clear things up and he can give you a piece of paper that even without any further action from council, you can have everything you need. Am I missing
Yeah,
anything?
the only other thing
Yes,
is
no.
the
I think so, too.
building permit, because we need to have that from you.
And we'll need
before
2 building
we can
permits.
take anything or fill out any permit from James, what's his?
Ryan James.
Yeah.
You'll need
Yeah.
to explain that. I'm not aware of that. 'Cause
We
gave
need
that.
a building permit in order to bring these mobile homes into town.
Yeah. That's in
The city's saying, okay.
the 2005.
That's what I attempted to
Yeah.
do when we started this a month ago.
So you can imagine our surprise a month ago when we came down to get our permits
That we
and we
didn't have
found
a
out we didn't even have a mobile home park.
But I thought that was all inclusive.
No, it says here, you gotta get a building permit for each unit
Right.
as they're brought in. So,
But that's what the guy in Davenport would do, isn't it?
No, you issue me a permit from Harrington to bring those mobile homes into this park. As the inspections and stuff proceed, then the inspector gets involved, right?
Yeah, they have paperwork that you can get online.
I'm sorry you guys lost me because I mean,
Right.
we don't
That's-
issue any building.
Yeah.
Those all- We turned that over
That's what
to,
it, yeah, that's what it says, that the city would issue a building permit. And
well, at
then-
that time, we did have,
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Now we
Yeah.
Okay,
So
so
that's
I guess the best thing is we fill out their application, hand them over some money, and then they verify that, somebody's gonna call, that, yeah, it's a mobile home park. it's
You've never looked
recognized,
at
fully
this one.
recognized.
I tried to show it to
And then we will
You
be
did
able
or you
to
didn't,
start
or I
setting
did?
I did.
mobile homes.
Okay, what is that?
you. Well,
really-
it's just
it
a
just
thing
want
that's
money.
been
And-
filed through the government last year
I mean-
that says there's a mobile home park.
Okay.
That it's called the Freeze MHP at North 402 3rd Street.
It was named. I didn't know.
So
So,
that was part of the census last year that was filled
Oh,
out
okay.
by this office, right in here.
Interesting.
So then he can go ahead and get
Yeah.
his 2 building permits from the county. the
With your
inspector,
permission.
And the city will coordinate that with regard to instructing the inspector to please contact the Labor and Industries regarding the type of foundation
type of set.
for a
It's
mobile
not our first thing, we gotta talk to the state.
Well, so I would say, well, first, we've interrupted a couple times through this.
Yeah.
And I would like to hear from Joe in his entirety until he stops speaking. So my request of it, not his, let the man finish his thought,
Okay?
please.
Bear with me a minute. So 376, which is kind of the guiding document that the city put down.
Speak up just a little, Joe, please.
Yeah. So ordinance 376 is kind of our guiding document that the city has for RV parks and mobile home parks. So this is what I'm relying on as the guide for how we're supposed to behave, if you will. Now, as David quoted earlier on this, there's a number of steps as part of the application that needs to be gone through. I personally would like to see those because this is a change. This is something that you guys do have from 2005, which was 17 years ago. That being said, in 376, it only says as far as placement requirements, that they be placed on a designated mobile home stand, whatever that is. It does refer to an NFPA standard for installation of mobile homes. It doesn't say anything about digging out pit sets and all the rest of that. It just says it has to be skirted within 90 days after an inspection of the utilities. That was from, what was it, 1996. Now fast forward to 2005, and in that conditional receipt, let me bring that up here. Yes, they did say a limit of 3, blah, blah, blah. The building permits should be required on each home installed. It doesn't say where those come from, and at this point, I don't know when it was, obviously after that point, the city turned over all of its building permit requirements and everything to the county. So,
about 4 years ago.
so it's right or wrong, this was a document from 17 years ago, so things do change. The change is the county's kind of driving the boat on a lot of this process now because the city gave that authority to the county. So you're kind of negotiating with the county. I don't think it's this body's approval of a building permit. It's now the county's responsibility to do so. They're the ones getting paid to do it. That's what I got. That's the answer.
So what are we concluding?
Then we have to go to Ryan James.
So I would propose, are we, and we can vote on this to see if we're agreed, I guess, but it would sound to me as though for the properties that are within the original scope that was approved in 2005, the council has no objection to those permits being issued. So to Joe's point, we may not be in the position to have to vote on that anymore, but in order to just make sure everything that's unlocked, depending on what they say, is everyone okay with having a vote on whether we can say that for the scope of this property, all building permits will be considered issue as far as the city of Harrington is concerned for those that are within the original scope approved in 2005?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, but I have a sneaking suspicion that the state regulations for these, at this point in time, which is gonna be relevant, is probably more stringent than a lot of our documentation.
Sure.
So,
So you're talking about the foundation part. We
talking
made,
about just about everything.
well, yeah, that's
Hookups, the
it's
whole
possible. We
shebang.
don't know what they've done since then.
And where I'm trying to get is to make sure that they can leave here today with a path to unlock whatever they need to with whoever else they need to within the original scope of what they approved in 2005. The changes as far as the setbacks and going from 3 to 4 will be something we have to deal with at a different time. But if they can start within the original plan, then we can let them go to town on the county to get the rest of it.
Yeah, you're gonna probably have to come back and let us know what you hear from them.
Oh, sure.
It's been confirmed that it is an RV park,
Mobile home park.
Mobile home park.
Sorry.
mobile home park.
Yeah, there's a difference.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so I move that the city of council, the city of Harrington would consider all building permits to be issued relative to this mobile home park within the original scope of what was approved in 2005.
Do we need to vote on that?
I don't know that we need to, but what I'm trying to get at is if the county comes back and says, well, we can't issue anything without the city approving it, I'm trying to make sure that regardless of whether it is needed or not, that we can say, oh, well, fancy you should say that because we did approve it. And it doesn't in some ways matter to me whether we need to or not. It's just saying if we are good with it, we can affirm it with a vote and then they can have that in their back pocket as they chase the county.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. To David's point, we do have the minutes and we have the paperwork that you were delivered.
Yeah.
The paperwork that you got in 2005 that you brought to us helped us find
Yeah.
where the minutes
Substantive evidence.
that, well, and the minutes mirror that. So to David's point, I think the decision was already made.
Right.
The only thing is that the county might stumble a little bit on whether or not it's a mobile home park, since they already
And
started.
and that's why we're gonna,
Yeah.
Okay,
Gonna send us with
with,
that.
yeah.
right now, we're doing the approval portion of that to affirm that, yep, the city gave their okay. And then we'll give a direction to have someone give them a call, say, yep, we found it, it is a mobile home park, you might want to talk to this guy about your definitions, and then we're gonna let you guys chase them for your first 2 placements. And then we'll talk about setting the
Yeah.
others.
I guess I would also say that if we are meeting next week to hold a public hearing, we're gonna be meeting in council chambers anyway, so.
Well, the nice thing is, if I'm understanding, we don't have to rush the rest of your variance requests, right? Because if you leave here with the potential to have 2 done per 2005, we can wait until our next regularly scheduled meeting in 2 weeks.
I believe that's gonna be true, yeah.
Well, yes and no, because the 2, one will be able to be put on there, which Larry's gonna be doing. And the second one will have to depend on the setback.
Well,
To be set.
Yeah,
I think 1 might be what you want to go here with, because the other thing is if we're going to have to mail the properties, we're going to have to give them, I don't know if it's defined in the ordinance, but even if it's not defined, we have to give them reasonable time to respond and
Sure.
you know, so I don't even know if a week is fair to say, you know.
Not less than 14 days to help you out.
Okay, yeah, so I don't think we can probably rush a public hearing quicker than that.
What do we need to move that Idaho home?
A truck.
A truck.
I got one of those.
You've got us covered there. However,
Yeah, that's an Idaho thing, we
Yeah.
get that done.
we don't need to, I mean, what I'm getting at is, this trailer is on property that's being destroyed. They're clearing it, they're putting in a big track housing unit there. And so we got till what, the end of May? or June.
June.
We've got a little bit of time to get that off of that property, but there is a deadline
Yeah, because it's.
where that
right
thing's
there on-
gotta move.
Yeah.
So I guess, can we
What is our?
get that thing down here and put it on my property and just
Well-
wait until this other stuff gets settled, or?
So let's see if we can get you everything cleared for one, and we'll work on the rest. So, motion, have a second? Or does it fail for lack of a second?
You got a second?
Okay.
Levi, second. So, could you repeat your motion again, so we can get it down exactly?
Yeah. The city of Harrington would consider all building permits issued, as far as we're concerned, we don't speak for the county with that, but they would consider all the building permits issued in accordance with what was already approved in 2005. And that's just because that ordinance speaks of building permit issuance after the fact with it.
Yes.
And then we offloaded the responsibility of inspection. There could be some open questions of can they issue a building permit without us having at least said okay, because the ordinance gave us control over that. How much did we seed? So we're just, in case there's any problems, we're just reaffirming that, yep, what you got in 2005 gave you the permission to do that. And if anyone has any questions about whether we approve, we do. And again, that is within the bounds of 2005. That does not speak to the variance regarding the setback. That is not in regards to the number of 3 versus 4.
Okay.
It's just allowing them to get that first one set.
Does that sound right?
That will be helpful.
So we've got a motion on the floor, made by Stevens, seconded by Levi, to approve and reaffirm what was done on December 14th, 2005 by the City Council of Harrington.
And approve the issuing of permits.
Yep, and to approve the issuing of permits.
Yes.
Any further discussion?
No.
Chris? No? Okay. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I'm gonna respectfully abstain.
Pardon?
Abstain.
Pardon me?
I respectfully abstain.
Okay.
As do I. I will abstain.
Okay. So we've got
301.
302.
302.
Yeah.
Okay. Next item on this.
So this-
Mr. Mayor? I
Yes.
think They had a follow-up question about staging the other one on their property, not setting it. Did we address that? Did you guys get your answer?
I don't know.
I don't think
You want to have
anything's
a
coming
stage
right
on
now.
your
You got
property.
till June, you were saying. It sounds like
Well,
next
that's a
thing,
deadline, yeah, so we need to be ahead of that.
next thing it sounds like you're gonna be hitting the permit.
We're gonna hit
Stand.
the permit for the
Yeah.
one, and then we need to work on these variances for the following one. And that's what the county now.
Yeah, so the second step is we need to give the inspector a call and tell him 2 things. One, that we found that that is a mobile home park by statute, or whatever we did in 2005, by, it would have been resolution.
Conditional use permit.
Yeah, by permit, yep, thank you. And 2, to give them a name to say if they have any questions about the setting, to refer to the name that was given to us there. Hopefully that means when you guys approach him, you'll get a different set of conditions than you did before.
Are you planning on setting, using those guidelines that paperwork I had was? Is that,
Yes,
What Joe mentioned?
yeah, that's what we want.
is that a continuous wall all the way around the perimeter or just?
No, it's just each pylon has its own footing.
Right.
Okay, so there's 6 or every 10 feet or?
Every 6 feet generally, but.
6 feet.
In listening to the ordinance being read, I didn't say anything because he was in the ordinance, it talks about skirting it. Skirting a home is only done on a park set. It's not done on a pit set. So your own ordinance kind of talks about park set home without saying a park set home, because skirting is what you do on a home set above the ground. You put on metal or vinyl skirting. If it's set in a pit set, it's a foundation.
So you're into the skirting.
Right.
So we're
So-
all good
so it
there.
didn't
We're
actually-
gonna have both, actually.
This
The way
doesn't talk
they're
about
set,
tie
you know,
downs
it's
and-
half
Yeah.
in
Right.
and half
Yeah, we
out.
want that too.
But I think,
My ears caught the word skirting because that is exclusively something you do in a park set.
well, that's
on a
probably
foundation.
40-year-old terminology.
Well,
Or older.
it is, was it 1978 that this was written?
Well, to answer you, I personally, if the council agrees and the mayor, I don't have a problem to facilitate on your part moving of staging that other one.
I
You're
got
not
all
setting it,
the
you're
grassland
gonna have
back there, we
it.
can
Right.
just back that thing in there and wait until this is all, if nothing happens, we can go ahead with whatever has to
Right, you
happen.
could already go with 05's rules, and I mean, you could still put it in, but we're gonna be working on the variances, or your requests for a variance and stuff. So I don't have a problem of, I guess time is of the essence for, everybody's.
It's a safety thing also for the home. The home is gonna be frankly safer in Harrington than any other spot that it could be at.
Is it, what, nah, I won't even go there.
I'm just saying.
Where it's at,
David might know something you don't know.
He can also get insurance once it's on the property.
Yeah.
You can't insure an unoccupied structure, period. It just, not really. So it's kind of like the sooner we can get it there, the safer and more insurable it'll be. even if
And
it's
this
not
is
set
a
up.
It's in limbo
really
right now.
nice home, and
The other one is.
putting it right out front there. And, I mean, this, you
That's
could
the
put
one
this
from
up there
the-
next to the golf course.
Is it gonna have a barn grill?
Most
There's
likely
no
my
bar,
mother's
and
gonna be
there's no
living
grill,
there.
but grandma's always got a bottle under the kitchen.
So
Yeah.
we've
Yeah,
got,
that's true.
the call will be the second thing, and then the third thing would be that we need to get a public hearing scheduled.
No less than 14 days.
Yeah,
No less than 14 days prior to the hearing of the following meeting, so yeah.
and that's just notice, correct? That's not materials?
It says, property, let's see, record, let's see.
May the 10th, next council meeting?
Notify the developer the date of the hearing. And
Isn't the next council meeting April 26th, Jess?
the property owners,
We are right now, today's the 12th, yes it is.
and it also has to be put in the paper.
So 14 days would be right on the date.
Right. Well, the thing is that won't work, because even if we got it tomorrow, if we got it in the paper and we got it mailed, that would be less than 2 weeks' notice. So that would mean that the first available one would be the 10th.
And this is all under ordinance 376, I believe that's what Joe, you quoted.
Okay, so I guess that would be the day of the public hearing, would be the 10th.
And it's posted at City Hall and other appropriate public places.
Because we would have had to have had it in the paper and mailed today to have 2 weeks' notice to everyone that would have been pertinent.
We can put a sandwich board on Troy and walk around town with it.
So as long as you guys are okay with staging the second mobile home on my property down there prior to this conclusion, that will give us a lot of peace of mind too, because we can keep rolling that.
I personally don't have it, fellow council members or the mayor, if they have, you already have room for 3 granted. so-
Well, I'm talking about just
I know.
parking it
Yeah,
still apart, you know? Yeah, and we'll,
it's your property. You know,
I'm finding that that's only in part though.
only when it
There
comes
are
to
other
taxes,
people
right?
who would like to have some of my property. Free. Like 30 feet of it.
Yeah, I
It does
don't know.
matter who you vote for, doesn't it?
It can, unfortunately.
So I guess we would have that on the 10th,
Are we happy?
and we'll mail that out. But what I would advise you, for your own advantage with it, it sounds like there is interest in some
Well,
discussions
they
that
were
I've
saying
heard,
if they did it tomorrow.
that there is going to be a great interest in making sure that the changes of going from 3 to 4 or the variance meet the letter of the law in terms of the change process for that ordinance. So it would advantage to make sure that you'll probably get the most receptive response from council when all I's are dotted and T's are crossed in terms of making a change to the definition of that park.
Okay.
Have you got a name yet, other than the North End Park?
I told him he named it for us the other day.
The free smoke,
Yeah, that's what
MHP.
That's what-
Frosty,
How long does it take to get into the newspaper? Because I'm coming from an area where sometimes you wait a few weeks.
Well, we sent it like on
Tomorrow's Thursday,
Tuesday.
isn't that the date?
Tuesday and then
Yeah.
Friday, Thursday it comes out.
Okay.
So, is Tuesday still the deadline?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So next Tuesday it can go in,
The record times, the one with the legal
and that's the
notices.
newspaper we're talking about.
Yeah.
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 And then we'll also have to mail to everyone within 400 feet. Right? Is that what it is?
It's 400.
Yeah.
Which the northeast side you got covered.
Owners, not the tenants of, but the owners of.
True. Yeah. True.
Which you have a lot of that covered already.
Yeah, the owners of record at the county
You've already
assessor's
owned
office,
400 feet.
owning property within 400 feet.
And the name is what?
MHP, free.
Freeze MHP, what it says
Appreciate-
here on this government?
But we have to go with that for now, unless
Okay.
you want to change it now.
Well, you just need to tell me before I call Ryan James.
So I think they're just gonna go with the North End Mobile Park,
Fine, fine.
because that's what everybody's gonna call it anyway. They're already referring it to it as the North End Mobile Park.
Well, you got the hideaway.
You don't wanna argue with normality.
You don't want Shady Pines, is that what you're saying?
Because there are no shady pines in there.
North End
Mobile
Mobile
Home
Home.
Park. Okay,
Always end up with these birds.
Yeah, she don't like long names,
That's
because
because I'm the one who writes things.
check. Get a stamp.
Did you happen to see that in the paper? Can I give you a brief idea? You can keep that.
There's more rattlesnakes than coffee pots. I'm sure that was the Paulson's.
anything else on
How
that
many
tonight?
snakes was there every day?
I can't think of anything. Are you guys?
I just have just to make sure that I have a clarification, because I'll probably be the one that's making sure that everybody's notified properly, is the ordinance 376 that I can look up, that gives me the list of the things that we need to be doing formally for you.
So,
Did I say it
at
right?
the last meeting, I did ask if you had gotten it, and I
Yeah.
know I sent it to you subsequently to that. So that's the one I'm talking
Okay.
about.
Do you have?
And you should,
So
You
I
all
think
got
I have
paper
it.
copies,
Yeah,
too.
it looks like I have it here.
You sent it electronically, Joe?
Yeah, I did send it
So
electronically.
that would be under the development, or,
I don't know it by verse, but I do know
Replacement.
it's fairly early on in the,
page 15-7,
like one,
under Article 3.
no, she's looking at the actual ordinance.
because it looks like it,
The first 4 pages, I think, are mostly definitions.
yeah. Page 13 says certificate of development placement permit.
I'm more looking at page 5,
Five,
where it talks about the application. Yeah, at the first line, any person
Okay.
to,
Oh, I see.
to develop, enlarge an existing park shall, and there's a list of 8 points there.
Okay.
Yeah,
And that's,
You said 5 on the paper version, it's 15.7.
that's 15.12.
I'm saying page 5
210.
of
Yeah.
376.
Right,
Yeah,
but that's part of, that's, whatever, so they,
Yeah,
but that's the section of
it's
that.
basically these, yeah.
Yeah,
It's, but that's what I'm referring to.
Yeah, I
This
think
is the
we're all-
codified version, yeah.
Yep, it's all the same.
yep, that's right straight
that is-
out of the ordinance book. there.
Yeah,
The Harrington Municipal Code.
Yep,
So that the applicant's the one that sends those letters out then?
I,
The city does that.
I,
City would-
Yeah, the city.
notify.
The city developer of a
copy I
de-
gave
It doesn't
you.
really dictate.
You'll see a black thing down here
Notifies
in
by
the
mail.
corner
Oh,
where that gold symbol is.
I'm sure.
All right, well, we'll be happy to
Probably get a harder response.
draft up the letter that comes through.
Yeah.
It's the city clerk that does it.
Yeah, it doesn't say who's supposed to send it out, but
They'll draft and we can send it.
yeah.
We can send it out the letter
Okay.
and do a map on it, just in black and white, and get that ready, so.
Oh, no, I went Mike to color on it.
Starts out black and white, you know.
Remember, the blue is not swimming pool.
Or it's not.
That's the Blue Lagoon.
Yeah. Carport, okay.
Everybody kinda happy?
Well, are you?
Well, we're
It's
That's the process.
I'm glad,
Yeah.
still dog paddling.
I'm glad,
I mean, it's not just you guys, it's,
Other
there's a pretty big circle, you know.
Right.
I'm glad that we found that information.
Oh, I was.
Yeah, that was monumental.
It's a lot easier to ask for one more mobile home in a mobile home park in a public hearing than it is to ask
Yes.
to build a mobile home park.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'd like to tell
Frankly, this day and
people,
age is probably correct.
Yeah.
I'd like to tell people that it's been, they built a few of them. There's one being built in Stevens County by Homeboys, I guess, I've heard. But in Idaho, we have not built a mobile home park in Idaho in almost 30 years. Because it's a public hearing and you might as well be asking for a confined animal feedlot at the edge of town. They go over like a lead balloon, they just, affordable housing, we don't care, it's mobile, we don't want, you know. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
Good night, folks.
Right.
Gonna talk about that you sent out. We were there.
Yeah, we can talk about it if you want.
I mean, you sent that out, I just didn't, you know,
I just,
if you found out any more about it.
yeah, basically, this was the one outstanding question that we had,
Okay.
so. If you, but.
I had nothing to add to it.
Yeah, there is the one thing, and I don't think it requires any kind of formal vote. Does anybody here opposed to us sending them a copy of our bank statements for like 2 or 3 months so that they can do an assessment of our accounts and how they would manage them? That's all.
It's public record.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so, no worries here.
I didn't think it'd be a big deal, but I didn't want to pull the trigger independently, so.
I don't, if the mayor wants to talk about that in comments or whatever, that would,
Yeah. Yeah, we should get back to Jess's agenda.
Yep.
It doesn't matter if you want to go there and jump forward to that one, I have no problem.
Oh, it wasn't on the agenda.
Oh, yeah, well, it's on my notes right there.
Okay.
Joe Wheatland,
there you
I
go.
guess that, I mean, as long as you're going, I have no problem.
Yeah,
The one thing I can tell you, this morning, the treasurer was in and she had some personal situations going on that I don't need to go into. I apparently can sign up through our SAW account to get on the LGIP.
LGIP.
Yes, She said, "Are you on the LGIP account?" I've never signed up for that, I never had access to that. Well, apparently we can get access to
Oh,
that.
okay.
I don't know that, and we could get this information anytime we want. And it makes sense in a way, but I don't know that that's a true statement at this point in time. The other thing, I had no problem if she was here bringing up Wheatland. And you found out more information other than what you had,
Well, I emailed it to everybody, so the
Yeah.
consensus was, do you guys mind if I give her a copy of, I'll need to take scans of them, of the bank account?
how many months, what are they looking for? They're just
didn't ask
looking
for-
at generally what we do.
Yeah, generally what we do.
I'm sure it's
2-3 months probably is all they need to see, just
Okay.
kind of volume and what we're actually doing.
Yeah,
I wrote in the email that the reason for the hesitation of being able to just set it up in well, really any branch, but Davenport specifically is it's their bank's corporate executive decision. Has to do with how liquid is the bank against taking on a municipality with all these extra funds and all the rest of it. So we got their blessing on that. And the last part of it was the question about the credit card. And yes, either with a phone call or online, if the way it was described to me, if Troy is sitting at some place and he has to buy something and he's 500 short on his credit limit, somebody can go online and adjust the credit limit within the overall credit picture.
Okay.
On the spot.
On the spot.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
did you ask anything about fee structure, or is there any
I
major?
think that's what they want to do, is they want to look at our statements to see what kind of volume we're doing, so that they actually, because they just had this standard corporate small business, price sheet, so.
I don't think we do much. I mean, 30 checks a month, maybe? I'm guessing. Is that maybe true, Donna? Something like that, that's nothing.
Yeah, no, we don't do a lot of activity, we really don't.
And would we still want to have two accounts, one for incoming, and I don't understand that really, but it makes sense in one way that everything goes in, although now, are the ACHs that you're putting into effect coming out of the outgoing one? Okay, so there's nothing coming out, well, I shouldn't say that. We're not setting anything up, and as we come along these, we're trying to put them so we're on the outgoing account.
So they're talking about having a single account, and this is the person that sets up municipal stuff. I think we need to check with, I don't know, the State Department of Revenue or somebody to just clarify that we can have a single account and we
Why
don't
that was
have to have
done?
two.
I don't know why
I don't-
you couldn't, because that just
I
adds
don't
to
know.
confusion the way it is right now.
Yeah,
like
Would
we found out.
HVAC have anything useful to say?
I've never got a phone call back from them.
They'll just say check with the attorney.
Yeah, that's the only thing I've heard them say so far.
So I think a call to maybe somebody in the State Department of Revenue and just get that clarified. I just don't want
Yeah.
to set up a single account and find out that we're statutorily required to have two.
So it sounds like we may be able to get LGIP answers if you have a SAW account and you're set up, so I don't know who that would be, for sure Donna and myself at the present time, and
And the treasurer has access, so the
yeah,
three
so
of
we could
you.
have access to look at that during a meeting.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Oh, on the Wheatland thing too, and I didn't want to get too much into it because it was way out there, but she said there are some municipalities that have these reserve funds, if you will, and it sounds like they move a lot of money in and out of the LGIP almost at a drop of a hat, just based on what's performing better. Is a 6-month bond performing better, and they'll move it to the bank for 6 months, and then LGIP. They've got some municipalities where they're just moving money just to maximize benefits.
Is it an
all the time.
investment account, or is it
Yeah, some sort of
savings
a
or something?
savings or bond or short-term money market or, CDs.
Obviously, we're in a volatile time in history, but the bottom line is, if the government goes to crap, we got way more problems than what little money we got in that fund.
This is true.
So,
Yeah.
I think we would like to be a little more
Aggressive.
aggressive with that money, and banking on the fact, like I say, if it all goes down, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's true. So,
I think we need to get as much money out to keep the city afloat.
In regards to finances in general, I would propose, and we can see if there's anything that comes up through the remainder of this meeting that would change this, but let's not meet next week, and on the 26th, let's start at 6 and have a budget workshop to talk about where we're at in the budget so
The
far.
next council meeting.
Yeah, the next regular council meeting
meeting.
on the 26th. So we give a week off next week
Sounds good.
since we've been meeting every week. And then that's an opportunity for us to start looking at a budget amendment and to see how we're doing so far against the budget that was passed for 2023.
The treasurer asked if she could get an invite to the budget committee meeting.
Well, that
And
was,
I asked, were you not in on any of them? She said, no, it was never offered to me. I said, I don't think that was by design. I'm not sure if you were, and maybe she was here.
She should be supposed to be there.
Yeah,
Encourage her to be here.
yeah. And I said, you know, I couldn't imagine why. I don't think that was done by design at all. So,
I think it's probably the carrying forward of tradition that previous treasurers were not typically at the meetings, so I guess we just kind of assumed that would carry forward, but that would be delightful to change.
okay. So, are you going to converse with Wheatland then?
Yes, I will continue the conversation.
Anybody have any problem with that? Okay, Levi? Levi, you awake?
No, no problem at all.
Thank you.
So actually, when we think about a budget committee meeting, which we're going to do this as a workshop anyway, but technically Peter was the last one on the budget committee and we have not replaced him, to my knowledge. Unless I'm missing something.
I think you are correct, Stephen.
So we should find someone to technically be on that committee with me. But it won't probably matter for our next meeting anyways, because we'll just do it as a workshop so that everyone can be there. But I guess we don't have to do it tonight, but one of y'all should think about stepping up for that.
Okay, last thing we had in the mayor's comments here was Johnson Family Towing. That time his clock is ticking away on us, folks.
Yeah.
And I know Joe had written up a new document. I don't know if anybody's had time to read that. I don't think there was any mention of yours, if I remember right, of money.
No,
It was just a basic document of what we were gonna ask them for.
yeah, so the term, the amount is all, that's something we as a group need to,
And it
The
seems
length
to
of the
me
lease
that,
is
is
what you're
that
talking
June?
about?
the length of the lease, how much, is there gonna be an increase, is there not? Is it gonna be renewable, is it not? I don't think it should be renewable, I think at the end of the term, I think it needs to
Year to
be
year.
done year to year, year to year, without renewable, so we can, I mean, it's a lot of work to redo these every year, but I think if we get a boilerplate one done.
Yes.
I know there was talk about going and viewing our property, and I think that should be done.
Yes.
We need to,
Well, and especially now that they are no longer,
Yeah, that
yeah,
makes me-
hopefully they've gotten those other things moved out of the way, so that that's gonna be a non-issue.
do you know what we're paying, or what they're paying us right now? Is it a 1,200?
and change.
Johnson Family?
It's not even that, is it?
I think it's 12. I thought it was
I
12.
got a copy of the lease here, I'll be darned if I can read it, guys.
Well, if I remember right, this lease only specifies that it goes up. It doesn't actually say what we're currently at.
No, it was the original lease for, what, 2 years, and then it just went up by the consumer price index at that time.
Right, so it's not in here. Because
Yeah.
that says $1,000 and we're above that.
I thought it was less than 1,100.
And the due date, do
Maybe I'm-
you remember off the top of your head when that is? June 1st, 2019
Does-
to May 31st, 2021. So I bet we
then
kept the
it-
same dates.
Yeah.
May 31st, 2023 is when that document expires.
Yeah.
So it's up and they gotta get to us within 60 days, don't they?
If they wanted to renew it under that old contract.
No, but that was only for one renewal.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
But that's what Jess, or the mayor is saying right now.
So it's coming up, this is March right now, this is April. He's got till the end of May, and we got till,
We've got till the end of May.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would say one for the term year to year. Sounds like there's some degree of consensus, but please, if anyone objects, I'm not trying to steamroll that. I can double check, but I do believe we are allowed to set the rate in executive session for
Okay.
leasing properties. I can double check that, but
Or, yes, to discuss rent and other
money.
things. And the terms of it.
it's people outside the door here.
Okay.
Yes.
I was hearing that too.
Okay, I was like, is there
How
someone
did
in
this
there?
here?
I thought there was someone in the back room. So, okay.
So, we figure, yeah.
Should we present this, I feel like we should present this for attorney blessing.
I would
That
agree.
one?
Yeah.
Okay.
The new one.
See if you need to add or delete or.
Yeah,
whatever.
any of the verbiage, that's not gonna impact the numbers in the term that we
Right.
determine, but at least we can get that process going.
So, do you wanna tell him to do a quick rewrite on something if he thinks it's a major problem? So we don't
I
go
agree.
back and forth. I mean,
Yeah.
I think we kinda trust him. If you see something that's really out of line, add
Add
two
it.
more lines.
Yes. Fix it for us.
And then we say yes.
Yeah,
Tell what we have in mind, and it's the lease, and we have a,
Because the only thing he would change is if you put something in there that he says, oh boy, you don't want to leave yourself open for that. Well, please rewrite around it.
I agree, give them the authority to fix it.
Yeah, just, yeah, okay.
RCW 4230-110, Section C, executive sessions to consider the minimum price at which real estate will be offered for sale or lease when public knowledge regarding such consideration would cause a likelihood of a decreased price. However, final action selling or leasing public property shall be taken in a meeting open to the public. So,
You can discuss it
we
in
can
the
discuss, we
executive,
could
yes.
have an executive session in our next meeting to set the price.
Yeah, and I think that'll give us some time to,
And you're not going to give them a chance to have a renewal? Well, they can always renew it, but not a 2-year lease. It's
no,
just a 1-year lease?
I guess it's up
they
to you.
can't renew
Go ahead.
that existing lease.
Oh.
That dies. It, by design,
No,
whatever.
this new one.
This new one, oh, well,
Will it be
that
for-
could be up for discussion. Do we want to have it renewable or not?
I mean, do you want to give them a 2-year lease?
Well, the only thing I would have to say to that, Mr. Mayor, is our prior discussions of turning that into something else.
Yeah.
We never did tackle that front on with the public.
And I don't think we're gonna be able to get that done by the time that this would be, like,
Yeah. I would venture to say, Mr. Hardy's original motion, Joe, a year. At this point, we can always modify it. And that's if are they even interested in staying there?
yeah.
Does anybody know that?
I know at one point in time, he had expressed interest in not just having a lease, but having a longer lease. And the reason for that is if he has a longer lease, then he can show the state of Washington that he can hold cars impounded while a trial is going on.
I see.
So he can hold cars there for evidence that need to be held in case they,
Right.
in case whatever. But right now, they weren't gonna grant him that because he couldn't guarantee that he could hold a car until the court released it.
Yeah.
That's, so,
How important is our future use, change in use to us?
They wanted to buy it at one time, but I think that was not be good maybe with our sand filter behind it.
It kind of ties the city's hands for future, because we don't, Lord knows, this whole sewer thing, treatment plant and everything involved, we don't know where, it's changed immensely in the last
Yeah.
50 years.
So, does anybody
60
have an
years.
idea? I personally don't think that business property rentals has gone up near as crazy as home prices.
Yeah,
In fact, I'm almost sure that is,
You
but
some research.
what we can get for a lease, I don't know.
but it's mainly driven by location, I would say. I
Well,
mean,
but
Definitely,
I would remind council, we have the privilege of being able to discuss this in executive session.
yeah,
Okay?
and that's true.
Yep,
I personally, I would carry this into an executive session, or executive session. There are a lot of things to talk about with that is institutional that I don't want to talk about in an open meeting.
I got no problem with that.
Okay,
Although you
second,
need to know, Levi, at the present moment, there's nobody here.
Well,
Are we on air on YouTube?
Oh, yes, we are. Sorry about that, everybody's here.
No worries.
maybe
I'll
Stephen,
just
a
save
red
it for
light
executive
going?
session. There's
Okay.
things
Like a
you guys
TV
should
camera?
know from prior to your time on the council.
Sounds good.
but I think there is a fair amount of, I understand the impact to him. And I think once we resolve the city's intentions towards the property, we probably could be very amenable to giving a long contract, but I would find it very doubtful that we're gonna get resolved our intentions towards that property by the time we need to renew this lease. And so without resolving what our intentions are towards that property, I don't know that it would be responsible for us to do more than 1 year at this time. But hopefully by next year, if he's still interested in it next year, we should have our stuff figured out, and maybe we grant him a 3-year lease at that point. I don't know.
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah.
well, I've seen the property. Has anyone else?
I would
You,
still
well,
like to.
you and I saw it. I don't know if you've been
Yeah.
over there since then.
No.
No?
I just wondered if we shouldn't reach out to Johnson's and see if we can A, schedule an appointment, and B, maybe talk with them, and if they feel like they've got something to say, bring them, ask them, invite them to a council meeting to kind of have this discussion.
Sure.
Since we're getting to,
If they're interested in releasing the building.
releasing the building, or quite honestly, what are their ideal plans, so we can weigh what they would like to see. They are a current tenant, they paid on time, there's a lot
Yeah.
to be said about,
Promptness.
you know,
Yeah. There was only one more thing that I had on my particular plate, and that was lien cost. I'll have to tell you right up front, there has not been a day in the last 2 weeks that I haven't dealt with issues on the mobile home park. It's been every single day. So, and that's probably not gonna stop
no.
Well, some of it will subside, I think, a little, but
a little bit.
the public, this big
Yeah,
public meeting might,
it's not been bad, it's been fine, but it's just time.
So, with regard to liens, I don't know what the overall cost is, but I was poking around looking for minutes this morning, so I was tearing through all sorts of things, and I found a file with a number of liens that were placed. I don't know if they're still there or not, but when Janice was here, there was a file folder full of them. Looks like the county filing fee for those was $39, or at least it was.
That
when
was
she
the
here.
auditor's office?
Yes. So the filing fee was $39. The cost of having the lien, I think she was probably doing them herself based on a template. So, and I saw some verbiage in there that I wondered if that was kosher for what we know now, but I couldn't tell. I didn't have time to
I
research.
don't know, I didn't get a lot of information from our lawyer meeting last week that
I don't think it's very expensive.
kind of was wide open that we had any idea that there was templates or anything.
yeah, the only thing that was brought, did he bring up, did he send you any info, templates on
He
the
was-
repayment plan and all that?
I
No,
was supposed to.
Yeah.
well, then I shall appropriately talk to him tomorrow.
We need that before we can start really hammering through on this. That's one thing
you
that
know,
changed.
Yeah, I can pull that thing out so you guys can see what Janice placed. Put in
Yeah.
place.
Sure.
I'll go grab it right now. I know where it's
Okay.
at.
Well, I know Bunny and Janice, yes, they did. But we did ascertain from the lawyer, as far as water, sewer, and garbage, the differences. Since we combine everything into one, there is separation, time limits on the water. 120 days, wasn't it?
Well,
Each back?
he was saying like 2 years with one, but he was kind of almost saying go for it.
Yeah, the sewer and garbage.
Years.
Huh?
2 years?
Yeah, well, it's because water was different than,
He said there's some accounts that have been delinquent for 2 years.
oh, and some of them are over that.
Yeah, you said something about a 3-year one, or maybe it was $3,000. I'm not sure.
But see,
It's been a while back.
one of the things that we found out in that meeting is that during COVID-19, the moratorium, certain people could not, you couldn't collect on a bill, utility bill. However, I believe it was the governor or whomever, the lawmakers over on the west side, said people thought it was just free, you don't have to pay. But there's a repayment plan that was supposed to be in effect and to sit down with them. It wasn't just free, it's just that when you got back on your feet and this moratorium on the utilities was over, people would have to pay that, start paying.
But you couldn't go back farther than that point of time, isn't it?
There, that's why he was supposed to send a template and it would give us all the skinny on that.
Yeah.
But well, I don't know if there's a time limit on it. I think that you can go back the full COVID period time, but going forward now, say somebody, if that didn't exist, you couldn't go back more than 120 days on a water bill.
Okay.
Water only. Now that everybody hears that.
Do we want to change subject here? Yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And we can still pick this up, what you just brought out, Joe. Shipping containers and the fire at the trailer.
Yeah, this is just brief. I don't know a lot because, like I said, I was gonna get up there today and I did not, but it was brought to my attention by a citizen today that supposedly there is a new shipping container up there. So we've talked about shipping containers in the past. It's just something to note if that is indeed the case. Second of all, in regards to the fire, it was not, my interpretation of what the citizen said to me was not so much that they wanted a specific action from the city, but just they were hoping to have our awareness of a property that might have a tendency to sit unusable for a long period of time, similar to what we had up there until that was taken down. That property that was demolished.
On Sherlock.
Right. So it really wasn't an actionable request, but just that they requested our attention towards the issue, that it would be a property that we look with an eye towards seeing that revitalized as much as possible. And then actually I forgot there was a third thing they were bringing up, that we are approaching the season that hopefully we can get some patches done in our asphalt pretty soon. So.
When was that fire? Very recent?
Sunday.
Yeah.
Last Sunday? Easter
Yeah.
Sunday?
Easter Sunday.
Nobody
No, it
heard.
couldn't have been. It had to have been Monday.
Which property is that?
The
Behind
trailer
you.
next to you.
It's Tuesday night, Wednesday morning at 5 a.m.
Okay.
Last week.
Yeah, it was last Wednesday at 5.
Okay. Every day is a work day for me, so it doesn't matter. It's just they all flow
I
together.
was totally unaware of it, so.
Say that again.
David was saying he was unaware of it, which I was as well until I was informed of it. So that's just why I'm bringing it to the council's attention to know that it's a thing.
Yeah.
And And I did happen to glance up out my window and see a bright blue container sitting out there. And I thought, I'm gonna have to reread our.
Where did that come from?
Yeah,
Is this on the same property?
I don't know if it's the
No,
same property.
I
but
understand it's on,
It's kind of kitty corner from where Levi's at.
yeah.
Well, we've touched on that subject.
Did we not put that in our nuisance ordinance?
I'm pretty sure that's the same property that has their private property sign on city property and has built their fence into the city right of way under the power line.
Oh, you're talking down below you, behind you.
Yep.
That's on Second and Alice. Or
Yes.
not, Second and Linden?
Yes.
That's Linden Street.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Second and Linden.
Is the,
Between second and first.
and I have every right to know because I could probably see this looking at one of my windows, but is the shipping container still?
Yes,
Okay.
but I don't know. There's been talk of getting it cleaned out because that's part of the process. There's an ongoing situation there with an insurance company,
Right, I remember that.
which is why it's still even there.
Right.
It was planned to be all put back where it was by now.
Well, there are those that assert that once a shipping container enters Harrington, it doesn't leave, so I was hoping to see that maybe
You wanna
there is
look at
a
this?
counterexample.
This one is still
Those are examples of
occurring
liens.
a monthly fee.
Yes.
So if the person would like to stop occurring that monthly fee.
I don't think we've really, council has not addressed that in full satisfaction, to my satisfaction.
No, we
There
haven't.
was input, and I believe the last conversation about that, or concern, got put aside, put to bed, eased their mind that it's only temporary and it's gonna be out of there. But at this point, we do not really have anything, because old ordinances did not explain or spell out containers. That's more of a, I know it's been a few years, but it's not, when the ordinances were written up, they weren't popular or being used.
We're still gonna have to do something about that.
So that's a work in progress. But if it's on city property or other people property lines, that is definitely something that we can do right now.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I do know from just a little bit of tooling around town that there seems to be the general movement of parking issues.
Parking?
Parking.
Parking, yeah.
Multiple vehicles in front of residents, when we do have ordinance addressing that, the number and how
Yeah.
they're parked.
And
And commercial vehicles on a public street for excessive periods of time, and parking in alleys. Now, to me, alleys, years ago, that's where your garbage, that's where your receptacles were, and that's where the garbage truck picked them up. They don't usually use them as much anymore. Some do. But I noticed that down in Levi's district, or just to the west of him, and there's a few alleys there that people have something either built or temporarily on them, or they just parking in them. All over town, really.
What
Yep.
about the tractor that's parked between the two houses too?
Street, where?
Well, off to the side, to the back, rear of the post office.
Okay.
Because the guy has got.
I mean the truck
Yeah,
tractor,
the
okay.
truck
yeah.
tractor,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
what I was referring to, the
Oh,
commercial
okay.
rig. That I happened to see today that Highline, or there's a lot of grain being moved, and they use 4th Street to navigate through their elevators, and pulling off of Main, and people parked at the post office temporarily to get their mail temporarily. It was a cluster, let's just say that.
with that
And-
truck parked there,
Yes.
that's been there almost a month now.
Every bit of that. So I don't know what's going on, but maybe a kind notice that,
Over by where the goats are.
yeah. I don't see those, but
Listen,
So we had an incident today. We were attempting to tow 3 more cars.
You got one today, I know.
Yes, we did. And, well, actually 2 of them. One next to me, too, is gone today. And we tried to take 2 more across from the school. And the person who owns the vehicle was not there. The one who owns the house was here and educated Donna for about an hour plus this afternoon. And then he got me for a few minutes there and started telling me what he was going to do. And the only thing I said is, I can tell you right now, if you continue to park your vehicles on the sidewalk across from the school, we are going to put notices in them and tow them. The sidewalks are for people to walk on, especially across the street from the school.
Right.
And number 2, that's an attractive nuisance and probably a safety hazard when you leave a car blocked up
Oh, definitely.
2 feet in the air, right across from all the kids. And I said, you know, just as a safety figure alone, we can't have a car with no wheels setting up on tires across from the school. Come on, all these little kids are out there.
Well, we do have an ordinance on the books for repair and how many days and
Yeah.
and all that, so that
Yeah.
would fall into place, but yeah.
And then he wanted to know how many vehicles he had, and I told him 2, and I'm not sure that was 100% accurate. I think I read that, but there was many infractions in our 505, which is our nuisance ordinance that
Yeah.
were.
He parked it across at the school as I was coming down here.
At the school.
One of the cars at the school, across the street.
A junker?
Well, there's all kinds of cars. He said there was, how many people? 4 people
Silver
living
car,
there?
that's all I
Maybe? 4 or 5. Part-time people.
Yeah,
And how many cars could they have apiece? And I said, 2 cars, period. I don't care if you have 20 living there. 2 cars.
Out front, and then you have to use auxiliary parking
Yeah, somewhere else.
back. But
But,
our code enforcement officer or code person
yeah,
and all that are gonna be busy with just, I would just encourage the citizens of the city to be respectful and mindful of that, and it might be convenient for you to leave it parked in the middle of the, or encroaching out in a street or in an alley, but there's a purpose. What emergency services for one is a biggie, but just be respectful to the other citizens in this town.
we didn't have a treasurer's report, so we're just gonna skip through that one. Library report, anything that anybody's heard from the library?
The only thing I've heard is the new librarian is awesome.
Okay,
I will concur with that statement, and I experienced it personally today, where she came in and was in a meeting with the state gurus, and they just sounded like they were just working through problems. It was just fun to listen to, even though I shouldn't have been, but it just...
The training is about ready. She's already spooled up on most of it. There's just a couple of questions, so the training facet or portion of it is not as intensive as it would be for somebody that wasn't with prior experience, so that's a plus.
I'm not gonna ask if there's any public comments. Anybody heard of any reports from the new location for the city hall?
Yes, I did speak with the landlords, and they said that they're coming really close. If you've peeked your head in like the doorway, you can see in there, and the drywall is all up, and well, I don't know if it's all up. Most of it's up. It looked like all of it was up to me, but there might have been a few misses. But they need to mud and tape that and do some painting. But I know I've seen Kaiser in there. So I think a lot of all the infrastructure stuff is done. They told me that either like this week or next or sometime very, very soon they'll be ready for me to go in and do what wiring we'll need for our either cameras or the Wi-Fi that we'll put in there, and then also for our phones, to make sure that we have phones at the places that we want desks. So to me, that's saying that we're really pretty close. I don't have a date yet, but I think we're just about done with the waiting on that.
Are we leaving the realistic telecommunicative devices here as part of the antique collection?
Well, I thought we were going to mount a microphone in some of these animals.
The realistic
Yeah.
ones?
Yeah.
I don't think there's even a store that sells realistic hardware anymore, is there?
Well, we could get one that has a crank or a dial.
I was speaking of Radio Shack, but I think that's where those babies came from.
Yeah.
They're realistic phones.
You are gonna leave those critters here, right?
Absolutely.
Well, I get spooked every time I come in here.
No, I don't get spooked. I talk to this guy quite
That one's
often.
winking at you, Chris,
Oh,
right there.
Yeah.
jeez.
So,
Follow me around.
I mean, it's a little premature, or will it be self-evidence where and how the space is going to be configured as far as putting telephone jacks in?
And that's something that I will probably come back to the council with an invitation to have some type of a workshop in there to discuss. I can start doing my wiring in the ceiling without that, because you guys aren't going to probably have an input on where
Has
we...
that got a drop ceiling in it?
Yes.
Okay.
And actually, from what I heard, at least part of it's going to be new, because they ran into a complication they didn't think was going to require a replacement of it. So I think the main part of it is actually going to be a new drop ceiling. So I can do the ceiling part while I'm in there and stuff. Then I can talk with them about, hey, so when can we come in? And I haven't scheduled that yet, because it might coincide with like our next meeting, or it might not. And so when we get to that point, I'll make sure that we get all of us in there, and then we can and Donna, and say, okay, where's the desk gonna go? Where's Jess gonna be? Where does this phone need to be? Where does that phone need to be? And make sure that everyone's got what they
We
need.
need to confer on what stuff. I mean, for example, I think, because I would imagine all the tellers' windows have been removed.
Yes, they have
So-
All
been.
the
The
counter,
counter.
all
The
the counter.
counter, so,
It's an open space, is it not now?
so, taking the peninsula here with us is probably
Yeah. And
with a facelift.
another thing that I had a thought of, I don't know how much interest there is for this, but, and I guess maybe some of this might depend on exactly where we are budgetarily. But I had the thought that maybe we should throw open an invitation for a commission to the public to build a council desk. A lot of councils have a round desk, and one thing that we could maybe, or a half round desk, because we always are
Horseshoe.
right, is that this is not super optimal, and we're gonna need some furniture. Like, do we take this desk with us?
Absolutely not.
Right, and so it's like, what things are the libraries, what does the library want or think that they should have this desk, or what? We're gonna need furniture over there, right? And so it could give an opportunity for our local woodworkers to say, look, you're not gonna make a lot of profit doing this, but if you wanna have, like, put a plaque on it, we'll try and pay you for the materials and your time to a certain extent, and we can have it, placed for all 5 people, and maybe have, some holes for being able to run our cables, because we don't need to take up and down our microphones anymore. We can make a more permanent setup for some of this stuff. I think that could be helpful, because this desk configuration definitely has had its limitations.
It's antiquated.
Is George Jetson gonna take back his chairs?
Oh my gosh.
Well, yeah, we're going to have a larger furniture debate. And another thing is, we do have enough phones, thank you to Joe and Northtown Insurance. But we got some surplus phones that were covered, but Donna brought to my attention that we might want to look at getting a phone that's more easy to, like, either plug directly into a headset or maybe pin against your shoulder or something, because the ergonomics of what we have right now is not great. So we're going to have a number of discussions about chairs and tables, and not a lot of electronics, because we have most of what we need, but there's going to be a few things, like we've talked about the possibility of putting in a security camera that could also be tracking, so that when people say, well, I came in and I gave money, we've had this discussion a number of times. Wouldn't it be nice to have a video clip we could go back on and be like, yes, this, I mean, we probably couldn't see how much money they gave, but it's like, yes, you were in here at 10:34 and this is what happened. We have record of it, right? So there's going to be some purchases just from getting here to there. And the good news is if we ever ended up back here, none of them should probably go to waste, right? If we had a custom desk, it would still be useful here. If we get a better phone, it would still be useful here. So it's not really inherently about going there, but it gives us a good opportunity to look at how do we do business and what equipment do we use to do it.
I'd like to see, add to that, of course, it's a bucket list, but something that we're in a meeting, public is here, that we have a viewing screen that you can write, or that we all can look at.
Yeah.
Put stuff up.
And they can look at, we can point to, say, if you want the tax sifter up there, you can look at this, and what other information that, I don't know how elaborate we need to make, it'd be nice.
It's
is
not
all
real
I'm saying.
expensive. I mean, you can get 55-inch, 65-inch TVs for a couple $100 these days. And you get a $75 rolling stand on it. And
You could even get
it's not,
projectors that are even cheaper still.
well, then
Well,
you
it's,
could
like this dating me, but back in the day, the guy, your teacher would write it down here, and it would be projected on the whole wall.
That is dating
But-
you. That's
but
dating all of us. An overhead
Similar,
projector.
but similar ideas like that you could hook to your computer and project that, put
Right.
it up there.
Yeah.
I know they've gotten better technology, but it was simple and it worked.
Yep.
We could get a mimeograph machine, huh, so we could have paper?
No.
Okay.
Okay, so are we gonna have, each of us have a desk or something that we can stay at, or stay at? Where we can stay, or are we gonna shift for whoever's, is there gonna be one there that we could use periodically, or
One what?
desk?
Like a council desk.
No, I think you're
Yeah.
talking about like a work area.
Really a work area, but we'd have a
Cubicle.
phone and whatever.
We've talked about, there will be some areas where we can put some cubicles in.
Okay, just to be able to go in there and get some quiet.
There's, I believe, going to be one room that we can close the door and meet in, and then another space that we'll put at least 1 or 2 cubicles in.
Boom.
Yeah.
There's a little hole you can haul through, and it's right there by the big door.
The vault's going to have a cone of silence that can descend from the top. And, yeah.
So yeah, I do like the idea of using that room for a conference room, so you could have
vault?
meetings. No, not the conference.
I don't
You may
like,
want to.
I don't like that ballroom.
No. As far as that vault, strictly from a safety point of view, I would like to see a pin go in the floor so that door cannot swing closed. It's 2,000 pounds. That's
We
a
do know
lot
that
of
it
inertia.
opens,
Yes.
because the contractor accidentally shut it, from what I hear.
Oh, yeah.
So it opens.
Somebody's got the,
Yeah, it works.
No, the owner has that was
Yeah.
part of the sale, is he got the combination to the lock. But yeah, using that room as a meeting room, and then also so we can have executive sessions and
Yes.
basically turn into a conference room.
Yeah.
that could be a safe room. That didn't come out.
Okay. That's like Chris was talking about.
A panic room, is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
if anything happens, we can all run into the room and shut the door and.
We've had a few of those events as of late. But I think it's time for Mr. Shank.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
So it's been moved and seconded that we adjourn the meeting at 9:14.
Wow.
All in favor?
Saboteur says.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting's adjourned.
Good night, lady and gentlemen.
Good night.
Good night.
That's the earliest we've ever gotten out of here.
It's amazing what weekly meetings can do.
Just that one work group where we were here for 4 hours.
Well, it's all good stuff, and there's a lot more to cover.
This was a good meeting.
So,
was
did
nothing
anybody hear any conclusion
Are we hot?
to the bomb threats today?
Are we hot?
No, except for my wife was thankful that Cheney was not one of them.
So what about some threats?
Bomb threats
Where at?
in Davenport. And apparently many other schools.
30 some odd superintendents
There's
received
knuckleheads.
an email of a bomb threat
What a bunch of
throughout the state.
That's
buttheads.
federal offense stuff.
Isn't isn't
of
it
course.
about finals week or something? Somebody trying to get out? of
Well, it
finals?
is, spring fever is kicking in, yes.
So, no, I'm not aware of it, Mayor.
Apparently